Snow fell gently outside the windows of the Fairbanks Research Station in Alaska. Inside, the gentle hum of computers and equipment created a peaceful backdrop as scientists went about their daily tasks. Dr. Alan Miller sat hunched over his desk, eyes fixed on his monitor. For 5 years, he had studied patterns that might indicate alien communication. For 5 years, he had found nothing. Until today. The signal came through at 3:42 a.m., when most of the station was asleep. Alan had been working late, reviewing data from deep space receivers. The pattern was unlike anything he had seen before, not random, not human-made, and definitely not natural. This can't be right, he whispered to himself, fingers flying across his keyboard. He ran the signal through his translation algorithm, a program he had created to find meaning in theoretical alien languages. The computer worked for hours. Alan didn't move from his chair, not even when the sun rose and his coworkers began to arrive. "Alan, have you been here all night?" asked Dr. Lisa Grant as she entered the lab with a cup of coffee. Alan didn't look up. "Lisa, I need you to verify something for me." Lisa set down her coffee and moved to his station. Her eyes widened as she looked at his screen. "Is that what I think it is?" "It's a message," Alan said, his voice barely above a whisper, from somewhere near the Cygnus constellation. "And it's a cry for help." Within hours, the station was buzzing with activity. Government officials arrived by helicopter despite the snowstorm. The message was sent to translation experts worldwide, but they all confirmed what Alan had discovered first. An alien civilization called the Zorians was facing extinction at the hands of an aggressive species known as the Vex. 3 days later, Alan found himself in a United Nations meeting room in New York. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials from around the world sat around a large table. The atmosphere was tense. "Dr. Miller, please explain again what you believe this message means," said General Frank Peters, his face stern beneath his gray hair. Alan stood up, suddenly aware of his rumpled clothes and the coffee stains on his sleeve. "The message is clear. The Zorians are a peaceful species whose outer colonies have already been destroyed by the Vex. They're asking for military assistance from any civilization that can hear them." "And you're certain this isn't a trap?" asked a woman in a navy blue suit. "We could be walking into an ambush." "The message contains detailed star maps showing their location and the path of destruction," Ellen replied. "Everything checks out with our astronomical observations. Something is destroying star systems in that region." General Peters frowned. "Even if we wanted to help, our most advanced ships would take months to reach them." "We have the U.S. Horizon," said Admiral John Kelly. "It's our newest ship with experimental faster-than-light technology. It could make the journey in about 3 months." "Are we seriously considering sending our people into an alien war?" asked another official. "We've never even had confirmed contact with extraterrestrial life before today." Admiral Kelly leaned forward. "If these Vex are as dangerous as the message suggests, they could eventually find their way to Earth. Better to meet the threat far from home." The debate continued for hours. Alan watched as humanity's leaders argued about whether to respond to the first confirmed alien contact in human history. Finally, the UN Secretary-General stood up. "We will send the U.S. Horizon on a diplomatic mission. Captain Samantha Wright will command. Their orders are to make contact, assess the situation, and determine if and how we can help without endangering Earth." As the meeting ended, Alan approached Admiral Kelly. "I want to go with them." The Admiral shook his head. "We need you here, Dr. Miller. If more messages come through, you're our best chance of understanding them." Alan watched as preparations began for humanity's first intentional venture to meet an alien civilization. The U.S. Horizon would carry Earth's best and brightest into the unknown, while he remained behind to listen for more signals from the stars. Little did anyone know that humanity's response would change the course of galactic history forever. Captain Samantha Wright stood at the command center of the U.S. Horizon, her eyes fixed on the main screen. Stars stretched before them, as the ship slowed from its final jump. After 3 months of travel, they had reached the Zorian home system. "Status report," she said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Lieutenant Patrick O'Neill looked up from his station. "All systems normal, Captain. Weapons are offline as ordered, but shields are at full strength. Just in case." Samantha nodded. She had selected her crew carefully for this mission. Patrick was the best weapons specialist in the fleet, but he had also studied conflict resolution. He understood that sometimes the best defense was no offense at all. "Dr. Jones, any sign of life?" Samantha asked. Dr. Olivia Jones, with her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, studied her readings. As the ship's xenobiologist, she had spent years creating first contact protocols. "I'm detecting significant life signs on the third planet, but there's evidence of massive destruction on 2 of their moons. The outer planets show signs of recent attacks." Engineer Chris Barnes joined them on the bridge. His uniform was slightly rumpled, as usual. "Captain, I'm picking up debris from what appears to be a space battle. Based on the radiation signatures, it happened less than a week ago." "Open a channel, wide broadcast, all frequencies," Samantha ordered. "Use the translation algorithm Dr. Miller sent us." Moments later, the screen flickered. A face appeared, vaguely humanoid, but with pale blue skin, large eyes, and no visible nose. "This is Captain Samantha Wright of the Earth vessel U.S. Horizon. We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance." The alien's eyes widened. It spoke, and after a brief delay, the ship's computer translated. "You are humans? From Earth?" "Yes," Samantha confirmed. "We've traveled a long way to reach you." The alien turned to speak with someone off-screen. There was evident confusion in its movements. "We expected different. Your transmissions we intercepted. Your movies, your stories. We thought humans were giant warriors with advanced weapons." Samantha smiled slightly. "Those are just stories. We're here to help, not conquer. I am Administrator Kill. Please, dock at our main station. We have little time." The meeting chamber on the Zorian space station was filled with the smell of something like cinnamon. Maps and holographic displays showed a solar system under siege. Administrator Kill gestured to the displays. "The Vex came 3 cycles ago. They consume everything: resources, technology, people. They leave nothing behind." Dr. Jones studied the images of the Vex, insectoid creatures with technology fused to their exoskeletons. "How many colonies have you lost?" Samantha asked. 7. We are the last major outpost besides our homeworld." Kill's large eyes blinked slowly. "Where are your warships? Your armies?" "We came to assess the situation first," Patrick explained. "We need to understand what we're facing before committing forces." Chris Barnes walked around the holographic display, his eyes narrowed in thought. "These attack patterns, they're systematic. But look here and here." He pointed to several star systems. "They avoid these areas completely. Why?" Kill seemed confused. "Those systems have no resources worth taking. Or there's something there they don't like," Chris muttered. Olivia moved closer to the display. "Administrator, can you share biological data on the Vex? Tissue samples, environmental preferences." Kill pressed something on the table, and new information appeared. "This is all we have learned. They are partially organic, partially machine. Their weakness is not known to us." As the humans reviewed the data, Kill spoke again. "If the Vex are not stocked here, they will eventually find their way to other systems, including Earth." Samantha nodded grimly. "We understand. But our approach may be different than what you expect. Humans don't always solve problems with direct force," Samantha explained. "Sometimes the smallest things can make the biggest difference." Chris was studying the biological readouts with growing excitement. "Captain, look at this. They're organic components. They have almost no immune system against certain types of bacteria that are common on Earth." Olivia leaned over his shoulder. "He's right. They've evolved in an environment with different microbial threats. Earth bacteria could be devastating to them. Patrick glanced between them. Are you suggesting we fight an invasion with germs? It wouldn't be the first time in human history that microbes decided the outcome of a war, Samantha said thoughtfully. Samantha turned to face the administrator. No, we might send something much more effective. Something they'll never expect. Back aboard the U.S. Horizon, the human crew gathered in the main conference room. Holographic displays showed the Vex attack patterns and all the data the Zorians had shared. Captain Samantha Wright stood at the head of the table, her face grim. Options, people. What do we have? Lieutenant Patrick O'Neill spoke first. Their ships outnumber ours 100 to 1. Even if we called for our entire fleet, we'd be overwhelmed. The Zorians have better technology than us in many ways, said Dr. Olivia Jones. If they couldn't stop the Vex with their weapons, ours won't do much better. The room fell silent. Earth was months away. They were alone out here, facing an enemy that had destroyed entire civilizations. Chris Barnes had been unusually quiet. The engineer sat in the corner, eyes fixed on his tablet as he scrolled through data. Suddenly, he looked up. Captain, something doesn't add up. Look at this. He sent an image to the main display. It showed a map of nearby star systems. The Vex attack pattern isn't random. They avoid certain areas completely. At first, I thought it was because those systems had no resources, like the Zorians said. But I checked the data again. Chris walked to the display and pointed at several star systems. These planets have something in common. They all have extremely diverse bacterial ecosystems. Dr. Jones stood up, excitement in her eyes. He's right. And look at the Vex biology again. She pulled up the biological scans. Their organic components have almost no immune response to certain types of bacteria. It's like they evolved in a completely sterile environment. You're saying they're vulnerable to germs? Patrick asked. Not just any germs, Olivia replied. Earth has some of the most diverse bacterial life in this part of the galaxy, according to the Zorian database. Our bodies host trillions of microbes that we've evolved to live with. Chris nodded eagerly. And the Vex, with their part-organic systems, would have no defense against them. Captain Wright considered this information. So instead of weapons, we fight them with bacteria. Exactly, Chris said. We could cultivate specific strains that would be harmless to the Zorians, but would attack the organic components of Vex technology. Patrick frowned. That's not how we usually fight wars. Maybe that's why we'll win, Samantha said quietly. They'll be expecting ships and weapons, not microscopic allies. Olivia was already working at her station. I've identified 3 strains of common Earth bacteria that could be perfect. They're harmless to humans, and based on the Zorian biology we've studied, should be safe for them too. How quickly can we grow enough to make a difference? Samantha asked. With the lab equipment we have on board, maybe 2 weeks, Olivia replied. But we'd need more to affect an entire fleet of Vex ships. Samantha tapped her fingers on the table, thinking. Then she stood up straight. I need to talk to Earth Command and the Zorians. The call to Earth took hours to set up, with the signal having to travel vast distances. When General Peters finally appeared on screen, he looked skeptical as Samantha explained their plan. Bacteria, not weapons, he asked. Right, we sent you to assess the situation, not to start some science experiment. With respect, sir, this is our best option. The Vex would destroy our ships before we could fire a single shot, but they have no defense against microbial warfare. The general was silent for a long moment. You're proposing to fight an interstellar war with germs. Yes, sir. It's unexpected, and that's our advantage. After more discussion, Earth Command reluctantly agreed. The next challenge was explaining the plan to the Zorians. Administrator Kill stared at Samantha in confusion. You want to fight the Vex with invisible life forms. Bacteria, Samantha corrected. Microscopic organisms that will disable their technology without firing a single shot. Kill's large eyes blinked slowly. In all our history, we have never heard of such a strategy. Fighting an enemy you cannot see with an army you cannot see. That's why it will work, Chris explained. They won't be looking for it. They won't have defenses against it. If you fail, Kill said, my people will be destroyed. Samantha met Kill's gaze steadily. We won't fail. This is what humans do best. We find solutions where others see only problems. The main hall of the Zorian space station was filled with their scientists and leaders. Captain Samantha Wright stood before them, aware of the doubtful looks being exchanged. Behind her, a large screen showed microscopic images of Earth bacteria. These are our weapons, she explained, gesturing to the screen. They are called Bacillus subtilis, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and Pseudomonas fluorescens. They exist naturally on Earth and pose no threat to human or Zorian biology. A Zorian scientist stepped forward. How can these tiny things stop the Vex? They have destroyed entire planets. Dr. Olivia Jones moved beside Samantha. These bacteria break down certain organic compounds. The Vex technology is part machine, part biological. These bacteria will attack the organic components that control their ships. Like a disease, another Zorian said. More like a targeted treatment, Olivia corrected. We've studied your biological data and modified these strains to be completely harmless to Zorians. Administrator Kill looked unconvinced. In our history, aid has always meant weapons, soldiers, ships. Not invisible life. Chris Barnes, who had been setting up a demonstration, called for attention. Let me show you what these invisible soldiers can do. On a small table, he placed what looked like a piece of Vex technology, salvaged from debris. Next to it, he set a clear container of liquid. This is a colony of the bacteria, grown in our ship's lab, he explained. Watch what happens when they meet Vex organic material. Using a dropper, Chris applied a few drops to the Vex technology. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The Zorians murmured in disappointment. Give it time, Chris said calmly. Nature doesn't rush. As they watched, the surface of the Vex material began to change. First it dulled, then small bubbles appeared. Within minutes, the structure began to degrade. After an hour, it had partially dissolved into a harmless gel. The Zorians watched in amazement. One of their scientists rushed to scan the remains. The organic control circuits are completely disabled, the scientist announced. The machine parts are intact but useless without the biological components. Meanwhile, Earth had begun what they called Operation Microbiome. Laboratories across the planet were growing the 3 bacterial strains in enormous quantities. Supply ships were being prepared to deliver them to the U.S. horizon. Patrick O'Neill had been working with Zorian engineers to design delivery systems. We'll use small drones to spread the bacteria throughout their fleet, he explained to Samantha. They're too small for the Vex to consider a threat. How long before the bacteria take effect? Samantha asked. Once they make contact with Vex organic material, anywhere from hours to days, depending on the concentration, Olivia replied. The important thing is that the bacteria will multiply on their own. Even a small amount will grow. Dr. Alan Miller, still on Earth, joined their meeting through a video link. He had been working with Zorian linguists to study Vex communication patterns. Captain, we've detected Vex ships changing course. They're heading toward the Zorian homeworld faster than expected. You have 2 weeks at most before they arrive. Samantha nodded grimly. Then we need to speed things up. How soon can the first supply ship reach us? 10 days at maximum speed, Alan replied. That's cutting it close, Patrick said. Too close, Samantha agreed. Chris, can we grow more bacteria here, using what we have? The engineer thought for a moment. Yes, but we'll need every available container on the ship and the station, and we'll need to modify the Horizon's water filtration system. Do it, Samantha ordered. and work with the Zorians to convert some of their facilities into growth chambers. As the humans and Zorians rushed to prepare, Administrator Kill approached Samantha privately. "My people are worried," Kill admitted. "This plan is nothing like what we expected when we called for help." Samantha smiled slightly. "Sometimes the best solutions are the ones no one expects. Humans learned long ago that the smallest things in the universe can be the most powerful." "And if your bacteria fail?" Kill asked. "Then we'll fight alongside you with everything we have," Samantha promised. "But this will work. The Vex won't see it coming. They won't even know they're under attack until it's too late." The air in the control room was tense. Captain Samantha Wright stood with Administrator Kill, watching the large display that showed the Zorian defense perimeter. Red dots representing Vex ships approached from the outer edge of the system. "They'll be within range in 6 hours, Patrick said, his voice tight. The supply ship from Earth had arrived just 2 days ago, bringing trillions of bacterial cells in special containers. The crew had been working nonstop, preparing the delivery systems. "Status report," Samantha called. Chris looked up from his station. "Drones are loaded and ready. We've modified them with Zorian cloaking technology to avoid detection." "Bacterial concentration is optimal," Olivia added. "They should spread quickly once deployed." Samantha nodded. "Launch the first wave." Outside, in the darkness of space, hundreds of small drones left the Zorian station. Each one carried containers of bacteria, specially designed to open when they detected Vex organic material nearby. The drones were barely larger than a human hand, making them almost impossible for the Vex to detect as threats. "Drones are approaching the outer defense line," Patrick reported. "First contact with Vex ships expected in 20 minutes. The wait was agonizing. Samantha paced while Kill stood completely still, large eyes fixed on the screen. "First drones have reached their targets," Patrick finally announced. "Release systems activated." On the screen, they could see the drones attaching themselves to Vex ships. Tiny dots of green appeared, showing where the bacteria had been released. "Now we wait," Olivia said. But the Vex ships continued their advance. 1 hour passed, then 2. The bacteria showed no signs of affecting the huge fleet. "It's not working," Kill said, voice filled with despair. "They're still coming." Samantha refused to give up. "Olivia, could the bacterial growth be slower than we predicted?" "Possibly. The Vex ships might have different conditions than our lab tests." "What about a direct application?" Patrick suggested. "If we could get a team onto the main Vex ship, we could release a concentrated dose right at their central systems." Samantha considered this dangerous plan. "The Vex would detect a shuttle." "Not if we use one of their own transport vessels," Chris said. "There's a damaged one drifting near the station. We captured it 3 days ago for study. I think I could get it working enough for a short trip." "That's a suicide mission," Samantha said firmly. "Not necessarily," Patrick countered. "We've studied their security systems. With Zorian cloaking technology adapted to our suits, we could get in and out before they detect us." After further discussion, Samantha reluctantly agreed. Patrick would leave a small team, including himself, Chris, and 2 Zorian volunteers. The captured Vex transport was small and uncomfortable. Its organic components smelled strange, like rotting fruit mixed with metal. The team squeezed inside, each carrying containers of highly concentrated bacteria. "Remember, we have 30 minutes maximum," Patrick reminded them. "Place the containers near environmental controls and get out." The journey to the Vex mothership was tense but uneventful. The damaged transport was recognized as one of their own and allowed to dock for repair. Moving through the Vex ship was like walking through a nightmare. Half machine, half living organism, the corridors pulsed with an odd light. Strange sounds echoed around them. The air felt thick and humid. The team split up to place their containers. Chris found what appeared to be a central air circulation system and carefully attached his bacterial package. "Package 1 deployed," he whispered into his comm unit. One by one, the team reported success. They'd regrouped at the transport with 5 minutes to spare. As they pulled away from the mothership, Patrick allowed himself a small smile. Now we'll see if this works. Back at the Zorian station, Samantha and Olivia watched anxiously for any sign that the plan was working. When Patrick's team returned safely, there was still no visible effect on the Vex ships. Then, 3 hours later, something changed. One of the smaller Vex ships suddenly stopped moving. Then another, and another. It's working, Olivia breathed. The bacteria are shutting down their biological control systems. Across the fleet, Vex ships began to drift aimlessly. Some collided with each other, causing explosions that disabled even more vessels. For the first time since the humans had arrived, Administrator Kill's face showed an expression that might have been a smile. "Your invisible army," Kill said softly. "It fights well." The control room of the Zorian station erupted in cheers as more Vex ships drifted powerless in space. Zorians embraced each other while the human crew exchanged tired smiles. They had been monitoring the situation for 24 hours straight as the bacteria spread throughout the Vex fleet. "We did it," Patrick said, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. Samantha nodded, but her expression remained serious. "Dr. Jones, what's the projected spread rate of the bacteria now?" Olivia looked up from her station. "It's exceeding our initial estimates. The bacteria are adapting to the Vex biology faster than expected. At this rate, every Vex ship in this system will be disabled within 3 days." "And beyond this system?" Samantha asked. Olivia hesitated. If any Vex ships escaped carrying the bacteria, it could spread to their entire civilization. The bacteria could potentially eliminate the Vex completely. A heavy silence fell over the room. What had begun as a defensive measure now looked like it might cause the extinction of an entire species. "We should celebrate," Administrator Kill said, not noticing the humans' sudden discomfort. "You have saved our people." "Administrator," Samantha said carefully, "we need to discuss something important. Our bacteria might be too effective." Kill's large eyes blinked in confusion. "Too effective? The Vex are being destroyed. This is what we wanted." "We wanted to stop them from attacking your people," Samantha corrected, "not necessarily to destroy their entire species." The Zorians around the room looked at each other in confusion. The concept seemed to puzzle them. Meanwhile, Chris and Olivia were reviewing data from a Vex ship they had managed to scan more thoroughly. "Captain," Chris called, his voice urgent, "you need to see this." The scan revealed something unexpected. Inside the disabled Vex ships were thousands of life forms, not just machinery. "They're not just machines with organic components," Olivia explained. "They're a complete species. The ships are like colonies." "Are you saying they're alive? Sentient?" Samantha asked. "Yes," Olivia replied. "And based on brain scan patterns, they might not be inherently hostile. Their behavior could be driven by biological imperatives, like a beehive seeking resources." Patrick frowned. "They've still destroyed multiple worlds." "True," Chris said, "but it might be more like a natural disaster than a malicious attack. They might not understand the harm they're causing." Samantha faced a difficult decision. The bacteria were working, perhaps too well. If they did nothing, the Vex would likely be wiped out completely. But did humans have the right to cause the extinction of another species, even one as destructive as the Vex? She called her crew together for a private discussion. "We have options," she told them. "We can let the bacteria run its course and eliminate the Vex threat permanently. Or we can try to modify the bacteria to only disable the Vex temporarily, forcing them to retreat without killing them all." "You want to show mercy to the creatures that nearly wiped out the Zorians?" Patrick asked incredulously. "I want us to make this decision carefully," Samantha replied. "Humans have made mistakes before by acting without understanding. Once a species is extinct, that decision can't be reversed." Chris had been quiet, thinking. "I might be able to modify the bacteria to break down after a certain point. It would disable the Vex ships long enough for them to retreat, but wouldn't kill all of them. The crew debated intensely. Some, like Patrick, argued that the Vex were too dangerous to be allowed to survive. Others, like Olivia, insisted that they shouldn't condemn an entire species without fully understanding them. From the doorway, Administrator Kill watched the humans argue with fascination. The concept of showing mercy to an enemy was foreign to Zorian thinking. "Your people are strange," Kill said finally, interrupting the debate. "The Vex show no mercy, yet you consider sparing them. It's not about what they deserve," Samantha explained. "It's about who we choose to be. Humans have learned that hatred and revenge only lead to more conflict. Sometimes mercy creates opportunities that destruction never could." Kill considered this. "This is why you are different. You do not just fight differently. You think differently." Samantha nodded. "So what will it be? Extinction or mercy?" 3 weeks had passed since the decision. The view from the observation deck of the U.S. horizon showed a changed star system. The Vex ships were gone, retreated to the far reaches of space. The Zorian homeworld glowed blue and peaceful below. Captain Samantha Wright stood beside Administrator Kill, watching as Zorian ships moved freely through their space for the first time in months. "Your modified bacteria worked perfectly," Kill said. "The Vex could not function here, but they did not die. They simply left." Samantha nodded. In the end, they had chosen mercy. Chris and Olivia had worked day and night to change the bacteria so it would disable Vex systems temporarily but not destroy them completely. The Vex, faced with an environment they could not overcome, had retreated. "We've received messages from 5 other civilizations," Kill continued. "They heard about what happened here. They want to know about the humans who fight with invisible life." Patrick approached them, holding a data tablet. "Captain, Earth Command is impressed. They want us to establish a permanent diplomatic mission here." Samantha smiled. "I think that can be arranged." In the station's main hall, representatives from neighboring star systems had gathered. Many had suffered Vex attacks. Some had been considering surrender. Now they looked at the humans with a mixture of curiosity and respect. "Tell us," said a tall, crystalline being from a nearby system, "why did you not destroy the Vex when you had the chance? They would have shown no such mercy." Samantha considered her answer carefully. "Humans have a long history of conflict. We've learned that how you win matters as much as winning itself. Sometimes showing mercy creates possibilities that destruction cannot." "But what if they return?" asked another alien. "We've shared the bacterial formula with the Zorians," Chris explained. "If the Vex return, they'll face the same problem. But we've also opened a channel of communication. Maybe next time, we can talk instead of fight." Olivia had been studying the Vex communication patterns. "We believe the Vex behavior might be changed over time. They're not evil, just different. They take what they need without understanding the harm they cause, like a force of nature." "A force of nature that can learn," Samantha added. After the meeting, the crew gathered on the horizon. Earth had sent new orders. They were to continue exploring this region of space, establishing diplomatic relations with other civilizations. "We came here expecting to fight a war," Samantha told her crew. "Instead, we've made first contact with a dozen new species. And shown them that humans are weird," Patrick joked. "Who else would fight an enemy with bacteria and then let them go?" Everyone laughed. The tension of the past weeks was finally fading. Later, as the ship prepared to depart for its next mission, Administrator Kill presented Samantha with a small crystal. "This contains our complete history," Kill explained. "We want Earth to know us better, and we want to learn more about humans." Samantha accepted the gift. "This is just the beginning of our friendship. Your people are unlike any we have encountered," Kill said. "When we called for aid, we expected warriors with weapons. Instead, we got scientists with ideas, problem solvers who see beyond fighting." "That's humanity at its best," Samantha replied. "We've spent thousands of years fighting each other. Now we're trying to do better." As the U.S. horizon moved away from the station, news of humanity had already begun spreading across the galaxy. Not tales of human weapons or human wars, but of human innovation, of a species that answered a call for help not with destruction, but with understanding. In the ship's lab, Chris carefully stored samples of the bacterial cultures, just in case, he told Olivia with a smile. On Earth, Dr. Alan Miller received the first official communication from the Zorian government. An alliance had been formed. More importantly, a friendship had begun. The stars looked different to Samantha as she sat in her captain's chair. What had begun as a desperate mission had changed the course of galactic history. Humanity had answered a call for aid in a way no one expected. And in doing so, they had found not just allies, but a place among the stars.